My name is Joseph Hurst. I live in Ankeny, Iowa, and I'm a part of the PMBA program. I currently work as the Director of Sales at Stony Creek Hotels in Johnston, Iowa, and I chose the Iowa State MBA program because it just made perfect sense. About 2 years ago, I started this wonderful program, and I couldn't imagine not having done it. What has helped the most balance work, life, school, has been the people I'm in class with. It's great to go through questions, problems, study for tests, and it just makes the whole class so much easier. As a working professional thinking about doing an MBA program, I get night classes aren't everybody's dream. I get after a long day of work, you may not want to go do more, but it's worth it. You're going to learn a lot, not just from the professors in the program, but from the other students. They come from all walks of life. They are from different age groups. They're from different companies. They're from all kinds of different backgrounds. They've got all kinds of different stories. And after 2 years, I've made some of the best friends I've ever made, learned the most I've ever learned, and I can't imagine what we're going to do after we're done.
Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit TerraplexAg.com.
You ready for this, Blum?
It's back.
Bring in the horns, baby. What up, what up? I'm going to crank it up for a minute. All right, Williams and Blum, Sunday, the 8th of September. English is back. Feels good. It feels like the season. Clones are 2-0.
Ranked 21st.
21st, the nationally ranked Iowa State football team.
That's right. That's right.
And we go by the AP poll because I don't trust the coaches poll. I've said that for years. I don't acknowledge the coaches poll.
And if the coaches had Iowa State ranked, then we don't trust the writers either.
Correct.
Yeah.
Aren't they? I thought they were 23rd in the coaches. Are they not?
I don't know. Is it 23rd?
Yeah, I think they're 23rd in the coaches poll. Williams and Blum, Sunday, the 8th of September, and we are presented as always by our friends at Mechdyne. MECHDYNE.com. I can't believe I haven't heard from Chris Clover over at Mechdyne yet. Because there's few people who hate the Hawks as much as Clover does.
Need a wellness check.
Ryan Burchett from Mississippi River Distilling, who makes Cody Road, he sent me a photograph. He was like, he jumped in a pool.
I'm not even ashamed of it. Like, hey, it's your Super Bowl. It's like,
yeah, well,
hey, that felt good. I don't care. I don't care if that game had more meaning. It did, and I'm going to celebrate. And we had a good time last night.
We had a really fun time last night. I will say this: nobody feels sorry for us. We have cool jobs and whatever. But it's like at least for me, and your deal's just you have little pockets of like just craziness that most people have no idea is even happening. For me, the legit busiest time of year, people think it's like, oh, it's the season or it's March Madness. It's actually late July leading up through Cyhawk Week is the nonstop part for me. And especially this year with the Iowa Everywhere stuff, on top of everything with Cyclone Fanatic, because we're trying to do all of our sales here. And, we started the new show with Jacqueline and Jirel and Colin and Jake, and then we've brought Leah Nelson on, and we have all this stuff going on that we're doing with Cyclone Fanatic, and it doesn't just happen. It's all planning and sales, and we appreciate everybody for sticking with us for 20 years or whatever it's been. But I felt like you and I we kind of melted away a little stress last night.
Yeah,
it felt like. It was the vibe that I got, and I enjoyed it quite much.
It's just,
so thank you.
It's one of those games. I think again, like we talked about last week, the North Dakota game was extra stressful afterwards because people were so worried about the Iowa game.
Correct.
And then the first half happened, and it was about as bad as could be. And honestly, C-Dub, some of the stuff that on social media and elsewhere at halftime is like, oh boy, this could be bad news bears. But thankfully, the second half happened. One of the more enjoyable halves of Iowa State football I've ever watched for a variety of reasons. And yeah, we all deserve that one. For as much crap as you deal with in this series, and just honestly the stress of being an Iowa State fan in general, those are the ones you got to enjoy. Like, and that's where, like, please enjoy it. And the great thing, C-Dub, you can enjoy it for another 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Next game.
that's true.
It's a great time for a bye week.
No doubt. We'll get into that, but it is a perfect time for a bye week. It looked weird on the calendar when we first saw it, but now we will most certainly take it. Yeah, we are in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. So much to talk about with that game. How many times have you watched the second half?
3 times. Twice.
3 times.
2.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on 2 right now. I'll probably do another one. I need to kind of watch. Really, the last few drives, it was such a blur when that all went through. Because I'm like most people, I would think, when Iowa gets that 3rd and 1.
Yep.
I thought that the game was over. I didn't quit. I mean, I was still watching, but I was starting to pack up my stuff to come into my office to do post game with Leah. And all of a sudden, it's like, 38 seconds on the clock. Okay, let's check it out. This is kind of a daunting task against this defense. And then, bada boom, you're there. And boy, I mean, you made a great point to me. We were watching the game back late last night. And you said if it's, and this is no offense to him, if Connor Assali's your kicker, you think through that differently. Nothing against Connor. He was a good kicker for Iowa State. But this Conrarty's leg, and we kind of been telling you guys about it, that they've been really happy with him and that he was pushing the guy last year and all this stuff. But you watch that again, like he would have been good from probably like 65 yards with that kick. And what a hell of a moment in Iowa State football lore.
Yeah, there are so many things you can look back on and go, well, if that would have happened, then this would not have been possible. And that's the fun part. And we're used to doing that on the other end, specifically in this series. But it was nice to have it go the other direction. Yeah, and just I guess on that point, you feel very validated for this coaching staff because I believe this team was pretty good. I mean, the neat part is some of the murmurs you got in fall camp and you've been posting on the premium board we've shared on this podcast, that your tag team partner Caleb Berzina was going to be really good, and what a debut for him. My goodness.
I don't text players very often, but I really like Cale, and I texted him today. I was like, hey, I'm going to buy your jersey and I'm going to put it in the background of my podcast because you're my tag team partner, man. And he liked that. He's like, hey, I'll sign it for you.
That's cool.
He's a neat kid. You spend way more time with these guys than I do, but him and Mendazun came down for our little charity event in Bondurant, and they couldn't have been better representatives of Iowa State. And listen, there are a lot of heroes in that football game for Iowa State, but I'm going through my Sunday that I always do, my Pro Football Focus, and holy crap, Berzina grades out second best on the team behind Darian Porter,
who was incredible. Game of his life.
Yeah. Just fantastic family. We come to really like them as well. But Berzina in his first college game ever was phenomenal. And really, I mean, he's going to have some lumps. He's a freshman. But it really changes your outlook on linebacker. Now, granted, they have no room for error. And I believe Sadowski's okay.
I think so. He is.
They said on the TV broadcast that they expected him to come back. I don't know if he actually did because there was a lot going on at that point. But, I mean, Berzina looked like a junior out there.
That's what was shocking to me is, like, I remember watching the first quarter because I think he changed numbers. He changed numbers right before the season, but we didn't see him last week. So I was like, who's number 9? I'm like, oh, my gosh. He looked the part, and then he acted the part. And maybe most impressively, C-Dub, he had the green dot on the helmet, meaning he was in charge of the communication for the entire defense as well. So, hey, young man, first ever game as a true freshman in Kinnick on the road. Now you have the green dot against a ranked team, and he just played great. He played great honestly, it changes my perspective on the season. Now, we had heard he's going to be really good.
Yeah, and I trusted him. Like I never once was like, oh, they're full of it. But it's just, true freshmen are true freshmen across the board. It's not very often that they're that effective in their first game.
Right. And I thought the D line really played well. And I think you'll see it probably somewhat. I would say got gashed a couple of times on a couple of those outside runs, and Caleb Johnson was great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy's an NFL back. I
Really
truly
good
believe
player.
that. I thought he was really good.
The fact that at one point they were splitting his snaps was insane to me. But
I didn't understand. I honestly,
I don't know what they were doing for half the game. But
the play calling for them in the second half was baffling. It was baffling.
The problem with them, if I'm an Iowa fan, it's a really complex deal because if they just would have, our neighbor TJ said this perfect to me today, not Otzelberger, for those wondering, other TJ. I was just bullshitting with him, and he was like, if they just would have played Ferentz ball, they would have won.
If Brian's there, they win the game.
It's perplexing if you're an Iowa fan because it's this thing you've been bitching about but they're not in the point where they have a lead. Right, like their offense was pretty potent there when he had it all scripted out in that first possession, and then all of a sudden the professor came to town.
I think Iowa State definitely adjusted, and then the series that changed the game was third quarter. The third quarter did not start great for Iowa State at all. By the way, they go 3 and out, and you're like, oh my gosh, Iowa has the ball in a short field, and that wheel route that Porter read perfectly, just perfectly, and intercepted changed the entire game.
I mean, isn't it funny though? And even in this state, and maybe we're just biased, but we are. Let's call a spade. But it still feels like, for different reasons. I think most Iowa fans realistically would take Rocco Beck over Cade McNamara. But if you would have just listened all summer, like of who got more headlines, right? It was still like Lester McNamara, and like it just. Boy, one guy just completely outclassed the other. Having said that, Rocco was not good in the first half.
He was not.
But mentally tough. Yeah, mentally so tough to hang in there and really. And that was, Brent, where kind of all week I said, man, I almost feel better with him than I would Purdy in this game because of that. Because Rocco,
100%,
I think, has shown us now, how last season started, what he did in this particular game, that he is a pretty mentally tough dude, and that's what you want your quarterback to be.
Great point. I thought that was a microcosm of the entire program, that game. I mean, it did not. That game started horribly. It could not have started.
Couldn't get a snap off.
Couldn't get a snap off. That Iowa was doing what they do. They were pinning it deep. Even Jalen, not fair catching inside at the 7, and they pinned it at the 1. Like, here we go. And then Hufford couldn't get the snap. They couldn't get the snap count right. Special teams was all over the place in the first half where they didn't know what they're doing. Matt, gave a talking to the special teams coach on the sideline. But I think the microcosm of this program is they keep fighting. They never gave up. I think a lot of programs fold up the 10 at halftime there and just say, it's not our day. We're not going to do it. So much was working against you. But Iowa State rallied, led by that defense to get some stops. And then Rocco was awesome. And then the playmakers came to play. And that's why we said it all summer. When you have Higgins and Knoll, you have a chance. And guess who stepped up and played their best football in the second half? It was Higgins and Knoll. And I don't know if Rocco really missed a throw.
Real quick,
that throw to Knoll on that final drive was an absolute dime.
It hasn't gotten talked about enough. The Higgins touchdown was a game saver.
Absolutely.
I don't think they did it justice on TV. The play that he made to take the ball, I don't remember if it was Castro or which Iowa defensive back.
Yeah, the other guy, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that TV did it justice how good of a play that was. It wasn't a bad throw, but it was good coverage.
Good defense. Yep.
Yeah, really good coverage. And the defender had his hands on it, and Higgins kind of just outleaped him and wrestled it away. But the Knoll plays are the ones that have gotten all the attention, but that one I felt the need to
great point
really highlight that.
If you settle for a field goal there, the clock just runs out. It's going to run out on you, and that was big time. And the fact that he got a foot in too, have those guys? I know it's 2 games. They've caught everything. They've literally caught everything. I mean, I'd have a hard time finding a better trio Becht, Knoll, Higgins in the conference for sure. I don't think there's a question. And I think Rocco, a game like that, now he starts to get a little bit more attention. Now they're getting the bad interception, but for him to bounce back like that, C-Dub, I don't know if you can you name 10 quarterbacks in the country you'd rather have? I mean,
No.
I mean, he's been that good, and when you have those skill guys, you have a chance. And Iowa State in the second half, again, first half was rough, and that was a lot of it was field position and Iowa doing what they do best. But Iowa State in the second half, 255 yards, and I think it was like 7.5 yards per play, which is wild. Just very efficient. They scored on 4 of 8 drives. Like it was just time when Iowa State needed some plays. They turned the playmakers. And another shout out to Jalen Jackson, I thought was a huge spark in that second half as well.
You know, he highest graded out in Pro Football Focus.
Oh, really?
From the game for Iowa State. Now he had limited snaps.
But let's give a shout out to the offensive line. I mean, Rocco got under pressure early. I don't think he got sacked in the second half, and then they were, in that second half, Iowa State was moving them a little bit. They really were, and I thought Hufford settled down in what could have been a horrible, catastrophic game for him.
The whole line got pretty good grades. I mean, it wasn't gaudy by any means, but the whole line was pretty much in the 60s.
Yeah, didn't have
other
Travis.
Than Neil had a rough day according to these folks.
But. Yeah, I saw that too, but there was times where they were running right behind him. So I think he's just one of those. He's going to make some mistakes still, but had a couple really good plays.
We've seen worse at Iowa State.
You'll probably get Travis back for Arkansas State, I would think, and so that's will he start right away? We'll find out, but at least gives you a monster body that Iowa State was super high on before he got injured.
Well, and it also makes you feel good if that's the case. Let's say if not, maybe he waits and plays against Houston. I have no idea, but to start 2-0 without him,
exactly.
And
Haser. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm less aware of that situation. But point being, to be 2-0 without what we thought would be the anchor of the offensive line and what we knew would be the anchor of the defense in Caleb Bacon is a hell of a deal. And Haycock too he was awesome.
Yep.
Just how they keep getting better. And I thought Taylor Mauser called a great game. And I know it's easy. I was a little bit like screaming at the TV on the 5 run plays in a row in the third quarter. And
so was I.
There's moments like that, and I get it. But if you look at the recipe to beat Iowa, patience, take your shot. They did it pretty effectively, and you read off the statistics for the second half. The first half was really bad.
Yeah.
But what they didn't do, was lose the game.
Correct.
It felt like they had. It felt like they should have been down at least 20-0. I thought at halftime, but they, Rocco made the one big mistake.
Yep, big mistake.
And they paid for it. But other than that, they were punting. They didn't make the big special teams blunder. They had some bad penalties on delay of games and junk like that Matt was pretty ticked off about. We all saw on the sideline. But I thought Mauser kept them in the game and then was pretty strategic about taking shots when he saw something in the Iowa defense. So tip my cap to Taylor Mauser, the first-year offensive coordinator.
No doubt. I mean, 5.7 yards per play against those guys is elite. Not many people are going to do that against them. And I thought the TV, say this about the TV, it was a very, very well done broadcast. Gary Danielson's
oh my gosh,
still railing on the Big 12's defense. It was like, what?
Yeah.
Welcome to 10 years ago, Gary.
Yeah, that gets annoying. I get annoyed when they'll do that. Well, they're set up for a Big 12 schedule, and it's like, well, most of these teams are like running teams now, but whatever. The difference in a CBS broadcast compared to like an ESPN2 is unreal. As far as the camera angles and all that stuff.
It looked great. The whole thing, the presentation was very well done. But I thought the one point Gary did make when he was really good about Iowa started sitting on those underneath stuff, and Mouse just set him up on that double move to Knoll, which was obviously one of the biggest plays of the game. And it's because of staying patient and taking what they're giving you early that a play like that is available late, and it was a perfect time to call it, and they made them pay.
I think a couple of our great sponsors here will continue to break this down. This will be probably a longer show, I would think. We've been like around the 45-minute mark. I can't see us staying within that. I want to thank our buddy Chappie, Andrew Chaplin, Real Estate, Blum. He is a legend. So allegedly, our friends over at Welch Avenue Station,
Yes,
the Brooke Burke poster had been stolen. And somehow, some way, Chappie was able to recover the Brooke Burke poster and get it back where it belongs. If that's not who you want to buy or sell your home from, I mean, I don't have anything for you.
can you imagine doing your closing at Welch Avenue Station with Chappie and Brooke Burke? I mean,
In the bathroom,
doesn't
signing the contract, looking up at Brooke Burke.
if that doesn't get much more Ames than that, and that guy knows Ames, he knows the housing market, and what a good guy. I had a very nice celebratory text from Chappie last night. So Andrew Chaplin at Hunziker Realty, look him up. And again, actually had somebody reach out to me like, yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I've thought about getting, potentially another home in Ames. I'm gonna have to reach out to that guy. So there you go, Chappie.
Our advertising works.
Yes.
And just ask our friend Colin Newell as well, former Cyclone. He's now my co-host on Cyclone Reaction for this year while Jack Whitfer is fighting his battle. Colin's been a great asset to not only our content here at Cyclone Fanatic, but I know that he has saved, I think like 100 or so people in our audience, hundreds to thousands of dollars on all of their insurance needs with Farm Bureau Financial Services. A great young man, a former Cyclone, and Brock Purdy used to touch his butt. Colin Newell. Look him up. That's 1L, Colin, Newell Insurance with Farm Bureau Financial Services.
See, old Brock was going nuts on the old social media watching that game.
I saw that, yeah.
Good for him. Good for all of us.
A couple other guys that I wanted to point out. I thought Dominic Orange
Fantastic.
was elite.
Yep.
Best game he has played as an Iowa State Cyclone.
Was the best defensive lineman on the field with a bunch of good defensive linemen. He was moving people. People.
Actually, I also have rumors. I'm sourced in.
Yes.
That Cyclone Fanatic is currently working on a big Citrus T-shirt.
I love that guy.
And I forgot to tell you, on that note, we have currently Iowa State with a 13-point comeback, 13% off on the Cyclone Fanatic shop on Rocco Beck, Jalen Knoll, and Cyclone versus the World gear.
What a time.
13% off. CycloneFanaticShop.com. The Cyclone versus the World crew neck black sweatshirt is the article of clothing I wear the most in my life.
My 6-year-old watching the game had his Jalen Knoll shirt on, and he was so excited. His buddy
I thought I was going to break his neck. Listen to this, people. This is an unbelievable, but if you know Blum, it's the most believable thing ever. So Brent and I don't like to watch games together. I don't really like to watch games with anybody.
Well, I say it's nothing to do with you. I don't like watching games with people in general.
So this is why I don't do game watches and stuff now. Because I'm sorry, I like all of you people, but I don't want to sit there and watch the Iowa State game with you because I'm just like I'm in a different mindset than like a social. It's just different. I can't explain it. I'm sitting in my basement, locked in. All of a sudden, I see Theo, Blum's youngest, shows up. Hey, Teddy, what's up, brother? And then Blum's wife, and I go, is Brent here? And she goes, I'm not talking to him right now. Because apparently Brent was just being a total dick.
I was not.
To his entire family during the first half.
The thing is, again, I'm not a conversationalist while the game is going on. And
I love that you just sent your family over to my house.
I told them Chris doesn't want you around there either, but go.
It didn't matter. We had fun. I actually liked having Crystal there. She walked in during like a very stressful point of the game, and I said, "Crystal, will you hold me?" My direct quote to her. No, we had fun actually. And so the we
Change
win,
your
and
mind.
I pick up Everett, and I start throwing him. And I thought I like broke his neck, and I was like, oh no, but he was cool. No,
It
he
wasn't
was.
worth it. No, not quite. No, it was.
It was
one of the
great to
games that
celebrate with your family while you were being a hermit all by yourself.
I did have so they were at your house. I had a names logger on the Amish bench by myself and just soaked in it for a while. It was glorious. It was
The most
beautiful day.
on-brand,
Yeah.
most on-brand thing ever.
Yes, but it was
Yeah, so Dominic Orange,
Dominic
for real.
Warner's great.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys, too, that we've talked about a lot, about how good we think he is and that we think he's an NFL player and all this stuff. The problem is with his position, it's hard to like make an obvious impact for the audience to see unless
Right.
you're watching tape and stuff.
Right.
And he did that, I felt like yesterday, and he got a little TV time for it, which is much deserved. And again, like, I refuse to think that Iowa's offensive lines have been terrible the last few years. Like they'll try and their scheme sucks, and they're better this year. And that's a top 3 or 4 offensive line that Iowa State will play in 2024. I truly, truly believe that.
Well, that's a good sign. So here's the stat. My buddy Ryan Holland came up with this. In the last, hold on, let me pull it up from old Holland. This is in regards to the professor. In the last 6 drives, Iowa had 9 yards, I think is what it was. So, yeah, they did get gashed at times, and that's still a concern. But we've seen it with that defense. There is the weakness, and Iowa attacked it at times, is right off the tackle. And you take one bad angle or a bad route, or your corner gets blocked there, and it's going. But I thought Dom was great. J.R. Singleton played a really good game.
He was awesome.
It was actually neat to see. Hold on, it was 23 yards in the last 6 drives, not 9, 23. Still point stands. It was neat to see Orange and Singleton on the field at the same time. They haven't really.
We had heard about that. We had heard about that. Yep. They were kicking that around. And
yep. So Orange
finally
actually
saw that.
He lined up a couple of times at D end, which was
I've never seen the 3-man front that tight before.
Yeah.
How close those guys were.
Well, and then they were, again, they a couple gashes for sure, but I think 9 tackles for loss for Iowa State yesterday, which means those guys are really doing their job. That is a bunch. That is a huge number. And they didn't necessarily get to McNamara a lot, but man, that guy was not comfortable all day. He was not comfortable. And speaking of defense, big shout out. I thought Malik Verdone played his best game as an Iowa State Cyclone yesterday. He was on Lachey, and Lachey did pretty much nothing. And then Bo Freeler.
It was 4 targets, 0 catches for Lachey.
Bo Freeler and Darian Porter also were outstanding.
What about my guy Purchase?
Yeah, he played really. See, the prop Miles played great for 90% of the game. He did get beat on a couple of those longer runs.
But I would make a point that he specifically, of all those guys, set the tone early.
Did
with those Iowa wide receivers.
Yes.
If you listen to the Iowa guys all week, Vanderlee, right? Vanderzee and Gill, and like this is, they're really excited about them. They played really well against Illinois State or whatever. But I thought Miles, he was like a boxer.
Yep.
Early in that football game, and I felt like that had to be, Deion Broomfield's work. We're just gonna out physical these guys and just beat the hell out of. Deion does corners, right?
That's actually Hank Poteet.
Oh, okay, Hank. Yeah, sorry, I get the secondary things mixed up.
The secondaries all work. They work pretty close.
Yeah, but I thought that was really notable, especially when I went back and watched the tape.
Yeah.
For the second time and watched it more clearly. Because it did, and it got to the point where McNamara couldn't even look to his wide receivers really in that second half. And then Iowa had the same problem they always have, and that field shrunk, and they were in a box, and we all saw what happened. Yep. So the corners were fantastic, along with the secondary.
They did not allow Iowa receivers to ever get comfortable. Vanderzee, again, had a great first game, but welcome to Power 4 football.
Yeah,
honestly.
Totally different deal.
This isn't the same game, and between great point, Purchase, Jontez, Darian, all played like high-end corners, and that's exciting. The great thing is, in Porter's in his 6th year. He's a converted wide receiver. I said it, and I took a little bit of flack on the internet the other day that I think he's an NFL guy.
I
Well,
absolutely believe you.
yeah, I
I
mean,
completely
there's
agree with you.
I think that rests now. I mean, he was great.
Some
And
guys just develop later on, and it's his body
correct. He's
mixed
finally
with the
big enough
speed.
to be
Yeah.
physical. Yep. And he was, and I just give everybody in that defense a lot of credit for just really gutting it out. There were, how many times did Iowa have it in first half, first and goal, and Iowa State at least held them to field goals both times? You get down, like you said, 21-0, 24-0, game's over. You don't have enough there. So the defense won the game in the first half, and then the offense finally came to play in the second, and special teams kicked in as well. I mean, it was just one of those where everything really went right for Iowa State in that second half and needed them all the way down to the last second. Although I will mention this, my friend Jay, which was interesting. If you go back and watch it, might have been a little friendly clock operation on the kickoff for Iowa. Doesn't appear to me that the clock starts right away when that kick return happens. Just interesting.
Notable on that play too, and I couldn't help but I'm a high anxiety guy.
Yes.
Right, and I'm a worst case scenario. God, for having games wrapped up, the last 2 wins at Kinnick with that, the fact that Iowa was able to get a field goal off 2 years ago at the end is unbelievable. To this
That's a
day,
great point.
to this day, when that gets brought up, my stomach gets in knots. I don't know how I would have responded. I'm not sure. I know how the Cyclone Nation would have responded. Y'all would have burnt the place to the ground. And then the fact that Iowa was able to throw a Hail Mary there, it wasn't as crazy. But with the time thing, like when you look at the kickoff and the fact that this guy's going to get that long of a return, it really, the point that Jay makes to you makes sense to me now. I hadn't looked at because it didn't make any sense how there was any time left.
Yeah,
I'm like, how is this possible?
Now it's not super noticeable. Again, I went back and watched it, and it's hard for me to know, is the CBS timer
Yeah, you don't know.
the same as the scoreboard? And that's where I was like, I don't. So I'm not going
It's like the first down line versus the actual stick.
So I don't. Again, I don't. It just felt like a really long 6-second return. I'm like, go clock, go. I was waiting on that Hail Mary for a pass interference. I was just terrified. Because if you get a pass interference there, it's a free play. You kick the field goal, the game's over the other way. So again, all of those things didn't happen. Iowa State has now not lost in Kinnick in 6 years.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
That's a real good feeling. The Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network, as always, is in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. We are presented by our friends at Mechdyne. We want to thank our friends over at the Iowa State University Foundation. Go to movewhatmatters.com and choose a place to give where it can help you become a more well-rounded Cyclone. I talk about it all the time. Veterinary medicine, the marching band. I've given to the School of Journalism, given to my friends at the Ivy College of Business before. Go to movewhatmatters.com and see what works best for you. Be a more well-rounded Cyclone. I already mentioned the 13% off deal at the Cyclone Fanatic shop. Also want to give a heads up, and my buddies down at Kelderman Manufacturing went down there on Wednesday for the big RV TV event in Oskaloosa. Hung out at the shop a little bit with Jeff Kelderman and Mark Stack and all the group down there. You can go to YouTube. This is great. I did my 2-guy show on Thursday from Kelderman's garage. He's got all these like cars and motorcycles.
Probably a lot
and
like mine.
all that.
Probably a lot like my garage.
You know you're a car guy if your garage has a balcony looking over it, and that's what Kelderman's did. You can go to his YouTube page. It's really cool. Go and check it out and see what I'm talking about. I don't have much else as far as that game goes because I think we could keep breaking it down. We got to talk about the kick, the Conradi kick, and just we mentioned it in passing, but that just weird for Iowa State to win a game like that on a kick because of history, right? I mean,
yeah,
but I don't know. Like I didn't have a feeling either way. I didn't feel good after he missed the kick at the end of the first half, but God, that kid, I mean, he buried it. Like it wasn't even close. Like he would have hit it from 65. It was right down the middle. and I loved his post game interview. I just thought it was very very likable young man, great story, former walk on, and good for you. I've been telling you to get a kicker for years. Go buy us a kicker, god damn it. And you got us one. So congratulations to you and the folks over at Westo and the Ames Lager for getting us a kicker.
Yeah, thank you for your consumption for the kicker fund. As Cyclone Larry tweeted, Blum bought this kicker, and you really called me a sellout. Good thing we know how to spend our money. So thanks, Larry. Appreciate. How about Cyclone football tagging Cyclone Larry? In the
Whoever's
post-game
doing,
tweet?
I don't know who's running all that now. They're doing a really good job.
It's good.
Like,
No, it's good.
somebody on the football account, and I think like the SIDs run it during the games for like the updates, and
Yes.
there has to be somebody in that football program, like a younger staff member, that's turning the wheel a little bit with stuff like that. It's been really fun to watch that account.
Totally agree. They understand the internet. I love it.
Yeah, they're doing awesome with it. It's everything I've always wanted it to be.
And shout out Cyclone Larry, my guy. Big fan. But no, it was just the neat thing is we heard good things about Kyle, and so when he missed that one, you're like, well, he has the leg though. That one even he missed from what was it, 47?
Mm-hmm.
Had plenty of distance. Like that is not the question, and he just pulled it a little bit. I think he's got a chance to be really, really good, and clearly he'll go down with the Cole Nettons, with the Shaggies, with a Sally's big winner against Texas. I think that was the last time Iowa State had a game, quote unquote, game-winning field goal was against Texas in 2019. Similar situation. Iowa State drove it down late, but that was a 3-minute drive for Brock Purdy, not 38 seconds. So kudos to Rocco and that whole operation. And the special teams, that's a hard snap, a hard hold. So good on all those guys for making that happen. I think Tyler Perkins had the hold, and Tyler had a couple punts in that first half that were a little shaky with the ball handling. So for him to get that down, no problem. And you're right, that thing's good from 60 plus. It was nice to have a little redemption like that after what happened in Lubbock a couple of years ago, and some of those other things throughout the years.
Yeah,
I'd say knock on this wood here. They've been pretty good on the field goal situation over the last 3 years. They really have.
No, they've done a good job with their recruiting, with the going out and getting those 5th-year guys, and just And I also think that the job that they did to keep Jace Gilbert in the program and engage the way that because Perkins, and he came back in and did a great job, but I don't know if he was nervous or they were bad snaps, but he almost fumbled
twice
his first 2 punts. And then they bring Gilbert in, and I'm sure there's details that we don't know about, like whose strength is what, and it feels like that Perkins is their bigger leg guy and that Gilbert's more put it inside the 20. But I mean, that's probably, we haven't talked about enough, that Gilbert probably he could have been that Finkel character from Ace Ventura, and just gone off after that Kansas game and never played again.
2022,
and
right?
They've kept him engaged, and it's a neat story. It's a little bit, a couple of cool stories where he was good, and then Porter sticking it out and having a big game.
100%. I think that's where Iowa State's program is so good, is anybody that travels is going to have a role in some capacity. And so if you are on the roster, they will try and find a way to get you on the field and to make an impact. And a lot of places, if you're carrying a couple of kickers, the one is just kind of there. Well, they wanted a way to keep Jason engaged and involved, and he was a big role. I mean, those punts that he came in for yesterday, all solid, all inside. I think they all went inside the 20-yard line, like very well done. And I thought special teams, again, it was shaky early, man. Whew. And Matt was not pleased, but they got it. They got it buttoned up in the second half, and things were much better.
And then the other one too is Hufford.
Yeah,
where I mean, really good to have Colin Newell on post game with me last night to talk about all that stuff and how that went down.
What was Colin's impression? I didn't get a chance.
I mean, he just talked about how hard it is that first time you're there, and like just you can overthink things. And he said that if Hufford was here with us right now, he would say like, "Man, I can't believe I got away with that, and I screwed up and all this stuff." But he recovered, and I thought they played pretty well. I think that the conversation from here goes, where does Iowa State stack up in the Big 12 now?
That's exactly where my mind went. Almost, obviously you soak it in. I might have had a couple too many celebratory tweets poking fun at some members of the Iowa media, but could do that.
Yeah, I
once in a
saw
while.
you going at Tom Kakert.
Well, I mean, tweeting out that no other program walks on Iowa sideline before the game, like Iowa State is committing some sort of serious malicious thing.
Well, I mean, my response would be like, maybe other programs should do that.
Well, it's 2 in a row now over there. So I just had to remind him, no, they were just scouting out for the game-winning field goal looks. But no, I mean, but now this now sets you up, and your attention immediately goes to what's ahead for Iowa State, and some of the question marks you had entering this game largely got addressed in some way. Like, you're still concerned about the linebackers, there's no question, but Caleb Brzezina, I think it's clear to everybody based on one game. It's only one game, small sample size, but he appears to be a Big 12 quality linebacker, and really shored that up. The defensive line played a lot better. Clearly, Iowa State has some great skill guys. Rocco's going to be an upper-end quarterback. All these things are true. Special teams, you got a kicker. I mean, pretty confidently that kid's going to be solid. Now, you look at the rest of the Big 12. Weird day for the Big 12. Weird day. And so you start looking at some of these things, and Iowa State's future schedule, obviously one more in the non-conference against Arkansas State, but eyes on the Big 12, and the path is becoming more realistic that Iowa State is going to be there at the end. You look at what happened to Utah. Cam Rising could be out a couple of weeks with a hand injury. We'll see what that means for them. K-State looks very, very average. Now, they pulled it out in the end, and Avery played better in the second half.
And he'll just keep getting better.
He'll get better. I'm not writing off K-State. They
don't look 11-1 to me.
I mean, the defense just didn't look the part to me. But again, it's one game. You can't tell a whole lot from a tough place to go play down there in Tulane. It appears to me, C-Dub, that Iowa State has just as good a chance as anybody at this point, and that's what makes that's what makes this interesting. You start looking at the schedule, and it's like you beat Arkansas State, and then you play Houston, who looked better yesterday, and we'll see what happens.
Sorry, the dog. You want to say hi to Diffie?
Hey, there, Diffie.
Diffie came storming into my office while we were recording and tried to eat some crap all over the floor. Par for the course with a puppy. You know?
Absolutely.
It just
hey, he's
it happens.
Diffie's never seen Iowa State lose to Iowa.
He hasn't. I told him I was picking him up this morning. I said, "You're good luck, buddy. Cyclones are 2-0 since you've been alive."
2-0, pal. Yeah.
Cyclones are 2-0. Yeah, when I look at the Big 12 in the standings right now, I mean, there's a handful of teams that I still don't think we know a lot about. I do think that it was important for the league, even if you weren't rooting for them, that Kansas State and Oklahoma State win yesterday the way that they did, just from a perception standpoint. This is the Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment, by the way. Plant your independence, plant Wiffles. Utah's interesting because they're killing Baylor in a non-conference game. Rising goes out, and that pretty much stops.
Yes.
So they looked a lot like the team they were a year ago without Rising. Take it for what it's worth. We'll wait and see what Kyle Whittingham said after the game. He didn't think it was a serious hand injury, but coaches lie all the time. So I have no clue.
If it's enough to take him out, I mean, it's got to be something there.
Texas Tech is not as good as I thought they would be. They've been the biggest disappointment in the league to me. They probably should be 0-2, and they were no contest in the Mike Leach Bowl on Saturday night. Really disappointing.
Arizona State, probably the biggest surprise of the conference.
I would agree with that. Yeah, they're 2-0. They beat Mississippi State. Good win for them, and they were super convincing in a rout of Wyoming. Who they played in week 1. And Dillingham's he's kind of got it going down there. There's a little swagger with that guy, and I still am. I don't know about Arizona. I'm kind of out on them still at this point. But I believe they play Kansas State next week.
I think you're right. Yeah, there are. I'm trying to think if I got the updated odds here.
I would like to know this because I think Iowa State is definitely a top 4, maybe top 3 as far as that goes now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna. I mean, it'll still be Utah, K-State. You're probably right there with Arizona. I'll see if I can't pull it up. So maybe we'll pull that up at some point.
I still think UCF is going to be a factor. Don't know. Kansas loses at Illinois.
Yeah, that's a tough one for them.
Yeah,
but I was never, again, I know I was never sold on them the whole time. Like they had to replace quite a bit, and I thought Bean never got enough credit for how good that guy was. I think Daniels is a nice player, don't get me wrong, but I think I would rather have Bean than that guy. And he was so good for them in his ability to do both. I watched parts of that Illinois game. That Kansas offense also notably lost its offensive coordinator to Penn State. So they got some adjustments over there, and they did not look great on offense yesterday. And I don't think that defense is going to be good enough to win the day.
Can we talk about Houston almost beating Oklahoma?
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, that sans Northern Illinois winning at Notre Dame, Houston almost beating Oklahoma is one of the most surprising, maybe the most surprising result of the young college football season to me.
I give them credit. I mean, Willie's a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really
good coach.
So they're going to get better. I mean, that obviously will still be favored down there, but that is marked improvement from game 1 to game 2.
Man.
Here's the quick odds. All right. Utah still the favorite
to
win the Big 12 at plus 240.
Mm-hmm.
K-State is second at plus 380.
Okay.
Oklahoma State is third
at
plus 600. Man, they looked rough on defense for the first 2.5 quarters of that game.
They're like an old Oklahoma State team.
They really are.
To me.
I mean, they figured it out, but man, that got nervous for them. Iowa State fourth at plus 900.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So they've now passed Kansas and Arizona on that list. And I think that's only going to go up. The odds for Iowa State to make the playoff are not quite on there yet. But again, I think Iowa State's interesting. Iowa's still 6-1 to make the college football playoff.
Because of the at-large thing?
Because of the at-large thing. I don't see Iowa State on here yet from what I'm looking at. But anyway, it's just interesting.
If you're going to bet that, you may as well. I mean, it just, you would be better off. I'm guessing that they would have the odds of Iowa State making the playoff or any of these Big 12 teams would be smaller because they would factor in the chance of them getting an at-large.
Yeah, so
I would just bet to win the conference, and you probably get better odds, and you're basically saying the same thing.
To that point, it's the exact same thing. Iowa State's plus 900 to make the playoff.
Really? Okay, so they're thinking that too. They're telling us that they don't think the Big 12 will get 2 teams in.
That's the only team that has lower odds to make the playoff outside of both Utah and K-State are 200 and 300 respectively. So a little bit better from an at-large standpoint, but they're basically saying Iowa State's not going to get an at-large based on that, which I don't necessarily agree with. That win helps. That win helps a lot. It's just you're going to have to get, in my opinion, Iowa State's got to get to the Big 12 championship game if we want to talk about playoff, and I still think it's way early to even bring that up. But where I will say, C-Dub, which I know where you're going, if you look at the schedule now for Iowa State, and it gets pretty favorable, right? At least from a where could things go standpoint. You're going to be favored against Arkansas State by 20+. You're going to be favored by 10+ at Houston. You're going to be favored by 10+ against Baylor. You win those 3, you're 5-0, staring at a road trip to Morgantown on October 12th, which will be a pick'em. And that's
I mean, where could you be ranked at that point?
That's where I was just going to go. I think if you're 5-0 on October 12th going into West Virginia, you're probably right at 10.
All right, then let me make this point. And it's not my job to do this, but I feel like we kind of pseudo talk to the fans,
Yes.
With all this, shouldn't the Arkansas State game be sold out?
Oh my gosh.
Or close to it. I mean, for real, if you've been waiting for Iowa State to have this type of an opportunity, it feels to me like this is a game that, why the hell wouldn't you go and sell that thing out?
Absolutely. And you guys, I'll be honest with you, and this is obviously pertinent for the future of what Iowa State looks like, and we're not going to talk about the revenue sharing situation. Very interesting week on that front. Maybe we'll save that for midweek or the bye week.
We'll do Wednesday because we have a bye week, so we can.
But Iowa State's down, let's say 4,000 to 5,000 season tickets this year. That's not a small amount, and I get it. I get why. I know fans are being asked to do more and more. Certainly a part of it. The schedule's not great. You don't have an in-state school coming over. You don't have UNI. You don't have Iowa. You don't have Texas. But if we want Iowa State to be able to continue to roll and be a playoff contender, games against, even though it's just Arkansas State, this is a top 25 Iowa State football team that has visions on a huge season. Let's get out there and support them. And every little bit helps, because as this transitions eventually to, having to compensate players through the university, through the athletic department itself, every ticket you sell now is just more money that Iowa State can spread around once it has to share revenue. So yes, we're asking you to do more and more. I totally get it. It can be exhausting as a fan, but honestly, how about celebrating these guys for what they accomplished over in Iowa City? And I think this team, like we've been telling all along, has a chance to be very special. So should be a fun home game here in a couple weeks.
It's time.
Sacks. So excited.
Guess the point spreads. Try webwise.com. What they do is they create very affordable yet professional WordPress websites for companies. I use them. I've referred them to people. Try webwise.com. Great Iowa State. We have a couple of Friday night games this week. This is a good week if you want to be a television fan for the Big 12, and you got the bye week for Iowa State.
I love bye weeks, by the way. Am I getting old?
Favorite.
They're still awesome. No stress. Just watch football.
And you don't have to pack anything up.
No. Again, I love game days too. Don't get me wrong. But
I love it all.
Yeah.
Thursday night, Arizona State is at Texas State.
Oh, that's sneaky.
6:30 on ESPN.
I'm gonna watch this one. That is Arizona State favored by 6.
2.
Ooh, sneaky. I'm gonna put them on alert.
Yeah, Texas State's winning that game. That's a fishy-ass line right there.
Yep. Be careful.
Okay, Friday night, 6 o'clock. We have 2 Friday night games.
2?
UNLV at Kansas.
Oh.
Rebels.
Did they win yesterday? Did they play yesterday? I don't even know. Did UNLV play? Help me out with that.
You always ask me these questions. Give me a second. They did. They played. They played Deacon Hill, Utah Tech.
I assume they won.
They won 72-14.
Deke throwing
Big Deke energy.
Kansas is a 8-point favorite there.
7, you win. Friday night, 7 o'clock kick. Arizona at Kansas State.
Let's go.
In a non-conference game.
Oh, it's a non. Are you sure?
Positive.
This is a non-conference game. Okay.
This is just like the Baylor Utah.
Super confusing. K-State 10.
7.5. You snuck it in there. Congratulations. All right, let's go to Saturday.
I like K-State there, by the way.
Cincinnati lost by a point. They
blew it.
They should have won that game against Pitt.
Yeah.
Made me sick. Cincinnati is at Miami of Ohio.
Oh, man. Why were they? Hey, we've seen this movie before. Don't go to Ohio and play a MAC school.
Nope.
Don't do it.
Although Cincinnati is in Ohio.
Yeah, but that's a good point. So
it's a less daunting, I guess.
Do not get norovirus.
I mean, that's got to be a culture shock, though, to go from downtown Cincy to wherever the hell Miami of Ohio.
Well, it's not very far. Oxford's
well, it's in Miami, right? Isn't Miami a town?
Right, actually. Now that I say it, it's not really that big of a deal. Other than, don't go to MAC schools. Cincinnati's favored by 5.
Cincinnati is favored by 2.5. You snuck it in. Well, no, that's a miss. Missed it by a half.
Yep.
God, just a terrifying week. Oklahoma State's at Tulsa.
Oh, Tulsa's no good.
I need to clarify one thing though. Tulsa, notably, just lost to Arkansas State 28-24.
Yeah, Tulsa's not Tulsa for that we remember.
Well, I'm just letting people know we're going to start thinking about Arkansas State here. Arkansas State goes to Michigan this week.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's tunable. 24 Oklahoma State.
Having a tough night. 20.5. Just right there. Just right there. North Texas at Texas Tech.
God, Tech, what is going on with them?
I don't know.
That's
I'm
bizarre.
really, really disappointed in the
Yeah.
Red Raiders.
Joey.
Disappointed in them.
Joey, what are we doing?
Really, really, really disappointed.
17.
10.5.
Gee, Chris, I'm horrible today.
Just disrespecting the mean green.
Apparently. You know, Isham Young's there now?
God, that guy shouldn't have transferred.
Yeah.
Although Bo Freeler is going to take his job.
He was. Although, and Isham, I think, got hurt in the preseason, so I don't think he's even playing.
Then he didn't do anything at Ole Miss, hardly.
No.
West Virginia at Pitt. The backyard brawl is back.
This is a straight-up pick'em.
2.5.
No.
How many of these have you missed by a half a point?
4 now. Who's favored?
West Virginia is.
Interesting. Okay.
Utah at Utah State. A lot of these Big 12 teams going on the road
What are
playing
we
these
doing,
weird.
This is interesting without Rising. Probably without Rising. We don't know that yet. 16.
21.5.
Oh, another.
Wrong team is favored in this one. Colorado at Colorado State.
Nice job, Dion. Did you see, by the way? I don't know if you saw it. The Nebraska fans watched the end of the sideline game and just went
It's going
for
crazy for Iowa
It's
State.
Going crazy. Our
It's
best
amazing
friend,
what a common enemy will do to two groups of humans.
our best friends of the Huskers.
Right, like over the course of American history, the only time like people in America get along is when we're at war.
Yeah.
Well, they have weapons of mass destruction. Or, like that's the only time we can ever get along. And it's the same with that. That's the first thing I thought of yesterday watching these Nebraska fans cheer for Iowa State.
Your enemy is my friend, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
So I assume Colorado's favored by 4 here.
7.5. I'm gonna go and bet. I'm betting Colorado State right now.
Are they any good though? I don't think they're very good.
Hal Mummy's kid is the OC. They got to be okay.
They lost to Texas by 100.
Well, what did they do this week? Give me a second. I don't think Colorado's any good at all. They beat Northern Colorado 38-17.
I think Texas. I watched most of that game.
They're freaking good, man.
They are really, really good. Holy smoke!
I'm glad they're out of the league. I don't want any piece of that team right now.
Ewers, I would have him start for 10 NFL teams tomorrow. I think he's that good.
And it's so funny too because he's like, he doesn't get talked about enough because of the Arch Manning thing.
Correct. That guy's he's NFL ready like right now. Super impressive.
That was a easy. It's
Yeah.
easy to say this after the fact, but if you watch Michigan play Fresno the week before, they are not the same. They are way off compared to what they were, and Texas is in midseason form.
So interesting. Again, I don't want to bring this up to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't know if you saw CBS Sports this morning. Said Matt Campbell's put himself back into the.
Oh, of course.
I was like, seriously, guys.
Oh, the Notre Dame guy's getting fired.
Well, and that's why. In Michigan, again, he just got that job. But if it goes south, they got money that they could just unload on that guy. I'm not worried about it, C-Dub. I'm just saying, like that's.
No, I know.
You have success. That's
the first thing I thought of when I saw Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame.
Yep. And again, Matt's loyal. He's been here 9 years. Like at some
Loyal
point,
son, forever true.
you got to take him for his word here. But it's just interesting that all of a sudden, Iowa State's going to have a successful year. His name's going to start popping again.
God.
FYI.
Air Force is at Baylor.
Wow. Baylor.
6:30.
Oof. This might be it for old Dave Aranda too. They look shoddy against Utah.
They stink.
Baylor's favored by 6.
13.5.
Jeez, I'm having a worse weekend than Cade McNamara. At least second half.
Central Florida is at TCU. And is this our first real Big 12 game?
This is a Big 12 game, right?
I think so, yeah. We have our first real Big 12 game. It's on Fox.
What's the game again?
Central Florida at TCU.
What time's this one? We're watching this one.
6:30.
Perfect.
We will be in Minneapolis.
Yeah, we're going to go to the old Purdy Vikings game.
The Purdy Bowl.
The Purdy Bowl.
You'll be wearing purple, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't do that.
We can root for Brock to do well while simultaneously lose.
I want Brock to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Vikings still win the game.
Could I talk real quick about? I tweeted about this, and it's been a thing for me for 4 or 5 years, especially in the NFL, more so than college, but it relates to college too. Just what a good scheme can do to an average quarterback. And like Sam Darnold looked like Joe Montana today, and he's not good. But it just goes to show in that league, if you don't have Burrow, Mahomes, maybe Allen, like you're so stupid. I saw the Cowboys just gave Dak that money today. It's just like, guys, have a great scheme and a really elite offensive coach, and load up the rest of your roster.
And I'll say this: at the very least, your quarterback needs to have an IQ.
Like Brock.
And that is why I truly believe Rocco Becht is an NFL player.
I agree. And watching what Brock has done helps him greatly.
Totally does. TCU is a 4-point favorite.
1.5. You're really close. Man,
that's fishy. That's super fishy.
I think Central Florida is better than TCU, but I just until they win a road game.
Right. And TCU.
I wouldn't bet this game with your money.
Yeah.
Rice is at Houston, so they just got to drive across the street.
They really do. It's pretty much what it is. Houston's favored by 8.
You're just in your head now. 5.
Oh. It's unbelievable.
I love it.
I was electric last week, and I can't make a thing.
Finally, BYU is at Wyoming.
Again, why are we doing this, BYU?
This is an 8 o'clock kick on CBS Sports Network.
Did they end
Maybe
up
Wyoming just sucks. They're 0-2. Hold on.
Beating SMU?
They just lost to Idaho.
Oh, no.
The Vandals got them.
I've totally spaced it out. The BYU beat?
BYU won. Yeah.
They ended up winning? Good for them.
Yeah, they're 2-0.
They're going to be a 14-point favorite there in Laramie.
8.5. You better pound BYU. You're giving Kalani Sitake a lot of love right there.
We're going to, next week, let's see how I would have done with my nipple. I'm going to do the point, see what Blum took against the spread based on what he thought it should be. I'll report back.
Real quick, let me give you just a couple other. Look at Boston College getting into the top 25. Tulane is at Oklahoma.
Oh, that's
roll wave.
12.
Good, you got one. 13. Interesting. Northern Iowa is at Nebraska. There's no line on that. I was gonna pull the Arkansas State, Michigan. Here we go. Arkansas State at Michigan.
23.
24. There you go. We just needed to get out of the Big 12.
Get me out of there. Hey, one quick nugget. We're an hour 5 in, so if you made it this far, you earned it. Iowa State had a team meeting at 9 this morning. Strategically.
Keep them from going out and getting drunk.
I would assume so. So I think.
Well, I tell you what, when I lived with football players, they just won the Cyhawk game. They ain't being at no team meeting at 9 o'clock. Right. I promise you that.
These guys are.
You think Todd Blythe was going to be like, "Yeah, I'll be in at 9." Sorry, Blythe catching strays here on a Sunday.
Okay. He can't defend himself. No, so I think they're, again, I would say very smartly done, and this will be an enjoyable week. But that Arkansas State game, let's sell that thing out. Let's welcome these guys back. I think this is going to be a fun season, and you only get so many home games, so can't wait to see you in a couple weeks.
He is Brent Blum. My name is Chris Williams. We are, as always, presented by our friends at the Mechdyne Corporation. That is spelled Mechdyne. Go to mechdyne.com. Check out everything that they have to offer, and I think you should apply for a job there because they love hiring Iowa Staters. Signing off from the Wild Rose Casino Studios. Of course, we have all of our shows coming up this week. Kicking it. Kick it! We've got the Inside Zone. We got old Teddy Flint and his crew making picks. Williams and Blum Wednesday. I think that's it. No pregame game day stuff coming up. Blum and I will be up in Minneapolis with the Purdy's. We're not like going with the Purdy's, but
you can buy me a beer. Do they sell Ames Lager up there?
I don't know. You should call Maddie over at Westo and see if we can do a little distribution.
There you go.
He's Brent Blum. I'm Chris Williams. Have a great night.